I want to welcome everybody to our Kindergarten Information Night. I'm very excited to be here to welcome you as families and your little ones to Warren Consolidated Schools for the class of 2037. I can't believe I just said that. Time is going to be crazy at that point. I'm Dave Mings. I'm the Chief Academic Officer for Warren Consolidated Schools, and I really appreciate you coming out tonight. Shows your investment into your child's education. We've got a lot on the agenda tonight. Before I go into it, our Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Livernoy, has a brief video. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to be in attendance tonight, but he did want me to air a video welcoming everybody here tonight for tonight's presentation.
Good evening, parents. I'm Superintendent Dr. Robert Livernoy. I want to welcome you to our kindergarten parent meeting tonight. We have a lot of information to share with you, and I encourage you to take time tonight and in the future to learn all about what we offer our students here in the district. You may be aware, but my own children graduated from Warren Consolidated Schools and are now grown up and doing very well. And your child has that same opportunity simply because we recognize each child is an individual, and we provide them with unique opportunities to help them be all that they can be. It's a great place for kids. We have the hardest working staff, and most important, we want your children to succeed. And this is the first step on a unique journey of helping your child grow up and get a great education. So thanks again for coming tonight, and have a great evening, and I look forward to seeing you all in the community. Thank you very much.
All right, before I get started, I did want to speak to, hopefully you were able to pick up one of these packets. This has a lot of pertinent information that you can use as a reference. It's got some strategies, some things you can see if your child is prepared for kindergarten by looking at a couple of indicators that your child is in fact ready for kindergarten come August of this year. I know kindergarten, as you sit there, can be a exciting time, but very daunting time as well. I've got 4 kids myself. I've got a 12-year-old, a 10-year-old. I've got one that actually will be starting kindergarten in the fall as well, so this is near and dear to me, as all of those thoughts are going through your head and mind. Is my kid ready for kindergarten? How's he going to react to his class, his teachers, his peers? So I fully understand what you're going through, what you're talking about in your homes, but beyond that, we're here to support you as part of Warren Consolidated Schools. We're here for you to make sure that there's a successful transition to your child's education. The artwork covered, all the artwork in this pamphlet is by our own district students, and this is by a young man from Wilkerson Elementary, actually. Just a brief agenda for tonight. There'll be a couple of words of introduction and a couple of words about Warren Consolidated Schools, our program options as far as kindergarten goes, the curriculum, what your child will be learning, and then obviously registration information. My office staff, which consists of people in central office and all building administrators and myself personally, want to welcome you and fully excited to have your child start Warren Consolidated Schools in the fall. Class of 2037. No one's quite sure what the world is going to look like come the fall, or come 2037, when your child potentially will be graduating that year. However, there's many things that come along with productive citizens, students that go on to the real world. The idea of reading and writing, problem solving or mathematics, and obviously showing up to your job on a daily basis, being able to carry out tasks that are asked of you, all of which are skills that are deeply embedded into our curriculum through kindergarten and 12th grade. we strive to make sure our students, when they exit our schools in every grade level, are at a grade level expectation of where they should be as they compare to students of their same age. I'm going to spend a little bit talking about achievement and our successes, and those two words have different meanings, and I'll explain in a minute. When we talk achievement, we're talking about grade level standards, and we use a variety of assessments and diagnostics throughout the course of the year to make sure that your child is where they need to be when they are at a certain benchmark, whether it's the fall of a given year, winter, or spring. And if they're not at that grade level expectation, then we make sure that that student receives supports. And there are many supports in place for your child if they need a little bit of extra help. Now, over the course of the time, if you've been a parent in this district, you may have heard Dr. Livernoy speak to, we teach every student as an individual. And with 13,000 kids in the district, you might wonder, how in the heck are you doing that? Well, we use a system of assessments through the NWEA. We use these twice a year. We use it once in the fall and once in the winter to make sure that students are where they need to be. And if they aren't, what are we going to do to get them there as far as supports go? And so every kid is viewed as an individual. And you will see a report up on the screen that is a very typical NWEA report, and your child will come home with these 2 times every year to make sure that shows how your child is progressing. And the point is to go from where you're starting in the fall and where you're going to end up in the springtime to make sure you're showing that growth. And when you have, it might not mean as much in kindergarten because you don't have a lot to compare it to, but as your child progresses through their academic years, you'll see how they've grown in reading, writing, and math specifically. So I spoke a little bit about achievement, but when we talk about success, that can mean various things. And as I spoke, every kid is an individual. I've got 4 kids. I don't know that each one has one trait in common, to be honest with you. So when I speak individual success, each kid has something that they're strong in. And we've got programs embedded in our district that speak to various strengths for each of our students. We've got a math and science center in our middle school and high school. We've got our middle school visual and performing arts center. We've got that's for the middle school. We've got our high school performing arts, which is obviously for grades 9 through 12, which takes place right on this stage. And then we've got our career prep center as well, which is really for skilled trades, which is for the high school. So wherever your path may lead, we've got a program for you. And career prep center, just most recently, their culinary division and dental division were just featured on Channel 4 WDIV last week. I don't know if you were able to see it, but every kid has a strength, and we've got programs to meet those strengths. One of the pillars of our curriculum is this idea of a student support network. And we've worked hard over the course of the years to really strengthen our student support network over the last few years, coming out of the pandemic. We have a lot of social, emotional needs, but our 4 pillars of the student support network speak to care, focus on the whole child, a membership, meaning feeling connected to your school or community. As research will show, students that are connected to their school or community have a much higher rate of being successful students and citizens moving forward. A focus on safety, both emotionally and physically safe spaces. And I'm going to speak to that a little bit later, but just briefly, we have a superintendent and board of education that is highly supportive of safety. Obviously, the world today as we know it can be a little daunting, and we are constantly going through training to make sure every space in our district is as safe as it can possibly be, and that is reminded to us on a daily basis through some of our drills and safety protocols that we have. And then support. We've got highly supportive staff and administrators that will stop at no end for the advocacy of your child. Our early childhood curriculum, and basically our early childhood curriculums are completely centered around making sure your child is ready for kindergarten. We're talking about development in literacy, math, social and emotional development, physical health, and the arts. Everything we do in our early childhood curriculum is really focused on making sure that your child, when they reach 5, is ready for kindergarten with their skills that they need to be successful. Now, the point on this slide speaks to our latchkey, our preschool, our 3-year-old preschool, our 4-year-old preschool, and our World of Fours, which on the national level is a Head Start program. But the World of Fours has a little bit of a parent component to it as well. But the key component on this slide is that our registration for preschool and our World of Fours programs begins April 1st, and latchkey registration begins July 1st of this year. And I'll speak to where you can find all this information, because we've got a website entirely devoted to the class of 2037 that becomes active tomorrow. All right, what does my child's classroom in kindergarten look like? This is just a snapshot of one classroom, and this would be very similar to every classroom in our 12 elementary schools as far as kindergarten goes. Our Board of Education and our superintendent stops at no end to make sure that we've got state-of-the-art technology with interactive smart boards, state-of-the-art furniture, and up-to-date modified curriculum that is constantly being reviewed and changed if necessary, but we have a full process of making sure that our curriculum is up to date to meet national standards. Now, in addition to this, I spoke to it a little bit before, but I want to make sure that it's heard loud and clear, that our board and our superintendent make sure that our safety is our #1 factor when making any decisions in our district. And you can be assured that I would put our safety protocols and measures in place against any school district in the state of Michigan. We've had numerous audits that speak to the level of training that we have and provisions that we have in place to make sure that your children are safe at school at all levels. Now, let's speak to a little bit about what probably brought you out here tonight, and that is our kindergarten options. And I'm going to speak to some age requirements that don't have anything to do with the district, but have everything to do with the Michigan Department of Ed and their laws as it relates to school age and what your child may or may not be eligible for. But what most of you probably came here for is our traditional kindergarten program, where students must be 5 on or before September 1st of this year. So again, our traditional kindergarten must be 5 by September 1st. Now, if you've got a child that was born between September 2nd and December 1st, there is an option for transitional kindergarten, which is just a little bit slower pace. I'll speak to that in our next slide, the next couple of slides. But our transitional kindergarten's been a pretty successful program for us that I'll speak to, but these are the age restrictions as it relates to traditional kindergarten and transitional kindergarten. Up on the screen is a waiver that If you have a child that does fall between September 1st, kind of misses that traditional cutoff date for kindergarten, but they are born between September 2nd and December 1st, you could sign a waiver. It's a one-sheet waiver that you sign, and it comes to my office that would allow your child to be enrolled into kindergarten at their home school. And that's for kids born between September 2nd and December 1st. Now, one of the key components of this is you're going to give examples as to why you feel like your child is ready for kindergarten, because that is a pretty young age, but kids can be successful if they meet the criteria that shows they're kindergarten ready. And some of those can be found in this workbook right here that shows. So if you've got a kid that you think you want to sign a waiver for, I would make sure that they can definitely do some of the skills that are embedded in this program. But those come in right to my office. I review them myself, and then we go from there. But that's our waiver for kindergarten, September 2nd to December 1st. Unfortunately, if you're born December 2nd or later, you've got to do one of our early childhood programs. So transitional kindergarten, again, for those kids, those little guys born between September 2nd and December 1st, again, is a very successful program that we have for kids of that age, and it just gives a little bit more time. We've got 7 locations right now. They're currently housed at Black, Cromie, Harwood, Pearline, Searsma, Susick, and Wilkerson. Now, transportation is provided if that elementary school is your home school. Unfortunately, if it's not your home school, transportation is on your own. So, one of the questions I'm asked the most about related to transitional kindergarten, because we've got 12 elementary schools, but yet we have 7 transitional kindergarten. This is a program that's grown over the years as the need has been growing, but we follow the population. That just this year we had a population that Susick has never had a transitional kindergarten. This year there was plenty of interest, enough to be able to fill a class, so we have transitional kindergarten at Susick this year. Now, what is the difference between transitional kindergarten and traditional kindergarten? Transitional spends a little bit more time on the developmental, social, emotional aspect, and it's a little bit slower pace than some of our kindergarten expectations. It basically will take kindergarten and spread it over 2 years. An example of that is, upon entering kindergarten, students will have to start taking assessments that are skill-based and have to be ready for those assessments, whereas transitional kindergarten will take those and spread it over a couple of years. So the expectations are more developmental, social, emotional versus skill-based. It still has that obviously in our traditional kindergarten, but the transitional gives students that are born in that time the gift of time, which is a little bit longer. My 12-year-old was in transitional kindergarten. I think this year he's in 6th grade. I'm thinking if he was in 7th grade, I don't know what he would have been. He would have been a hot mess is what he would have been. So I was very thankful that I took that extra year to make sure that because he was not ready for kindergarten at that time. Our traditional kindergarten, and they all have tables at the back. We have 12 elementary schools. The principals and assistant principals that have them are in attendance, and they would be more than happy to speak to you and answer questions. And even if it's not tonight, if you wanted to ask questions as follow-ups to them, they would be more than happy to assist you in answering any concerns or questions you have as it relates to kindergarten. Now, let's talk. What is my child expected to learn in kindergarten? And just to preface this, this is all elementary curriculum. So kindergarten through 5th grade, they will be focused on reading and writing, problem solving or math, science, social studies, science, technology, art, music, physical education, and media technology. Now those last 5 bullet points are what they would call specials. And not every student is going to experience a special every day. So they'll have gym once a week, art once a week, and those last 5, STEM, art, music, PE, and media technology. But it is a broad overview of all of our elementary curriculum. We'll be focused on this, but it's a pretty broad spectrum of what students in Warren Consolidated Schools are expected to know and learn every year. So what can we expect in English language arts, my student to be expected to do by the end of the year? Well, by the end of their kindergarten, they could recognize all upper and lowercase letters and their sounds, read age-appropriate text, use comprehension strategies, use combination of drawing, speaking, and writing to tell stories, and know conventions, grammar, spelling, and punctuation. And again, the development that you're going to see from fall to the springtime, especially in these young ages, is going to be very exciting for you. It was for me when my daughter entered preschool. For mathematics, what can I expect my child to be able to do come the end of their kindergarten year? They should be able to count to 100 by ones and tens, recognize and write numbers 1 to 20, understand greater than, less than, and equal to, classify objects into categories, and solve basic addition and subtraction problems. Now, we know every kid is an individual and nobody is the same. So we approach it in that manner as well. So when we have students that are struggling with concepts, we make sure to support them and reinforce those concepts before they move forward. I can't encourage you enough that if you have questions about your child, always start with reaching out to your child's teacher. They're the ones that are with your child every day. They know their strengths, they know their weaknesses. If you want to talk about them or just their development, please reach out and start with your child's teacher. They're the ones that are going to be able to help you on a day-to-day operation as it relates to your child. Sorry about that. Well, went way ahead here. So, we have obviously many pivotal departments that make our district run on a day-to-day basis. A couple of key departments as it relates to things that you'll need, the school nurse, transportation, food service, and how do I register my child? So starting with the nurse, we have 2 district school nurses. We have students that come to us with a multitude of health issues, but the more we know about your child, the better we're going to be able to service them. So during your enrollment process, when you're asked for information as it relates to, does my child need medication at school? Are they up to date on their immunizations, their vision and hearing screenings? All of that information that you provide us as a district will help us better serve your child in need. If they have an allergy to something, those are very important information that we need for your child. Transportation. The website here, this is again all going to be uploaded on the website that's going to be active tomorrow. There's a link that shows whether or not you as a family are eligible for busing to and from school. And the major criteria for that is you have to live at least, for an elementary student, at least 1 mile away from the school for busing. But this website will give you the exact information whether or not that you're eligible for transportation. So busing, that's another, just as a parent, we have a standard in the district that a parent or another adult must be at the bus stop to take your child from the bus. We just don't let a child get off the bus and just wander aimlessly. We must have an adult on site when your child gets off the bus. When you're, I can't tell you the amount of items that I've had to purchase for my two boys and even my 4-year-old in terms of mittens and hats. So I encourage you to just write your kid's name on their items, whether it's even their lunchbox, their water bottle, their freezer pack, if you have that, their mittens, their hats. You'll be amazed at the amount of time you go through and your child comes home without a glove or a hat. Now, most of the time it's in the school lost and found, but it will help if your name is on it. And then just pin an ID to your child's backpack so we know whose backpack that belongs to. It's just a helpful tip to navigate the wonderful world of kindergarten. I can proudly announce that school lunches and breakfast for all students in Warren Consolidated School is free for next year, so that is a wonderful thing. Our foods director, Ms. Doleski, does an amazing job and has really expanded, especially our breakfast program, and making sure that the students get nourishment for the day with breakfast and then obviously lunch. They do a wonderful job. I will plug in here, during the enrollment process, it will be asked of you to sign this form that's called the Educational Benefit Form, and it's not to determine whether or not your child gets lunch or breakfast, because everybody does, but it's just a matter of making sure that our district is funded appropriately based on your responses, because it allows us to have so many educational support programs that we rely on every day to carry out to make sure we've got the proper funding and staffing as it relates to this form. So when you come across the Educational Benefits Form in your enrollment, please make sure to take the time to fill that out. As I spoke to a little bit earlier, the more we know about your child, the better off we're going to be able to service them and address their needs. So if you've got a child with an allergy or they have an inhaler, any sort of health or medical information, when you enroll your child, please make sure to communicate that, and those forms get routed to the appropriate departments so that we have all that information on file for your child. Now, when can I start registering? Our registration for our kindergarten and transitional kindergarten begins March 1st of this year. And I'll say it again, we will have a class of 2037 website that's going to give you all of that information, and it can be found on our district website, www.wcskids.net, and all of that information will be in it. But registration begins March 1st for our kindergarten and transitional kindergarten. And there it is right there. So www.wcskids.net/class of 2037 is the website that you'll be able to find information from this PowerPoint and all of the programs that I spoke to as it relates to kindergarten, transitional kindergarten, preschool, World of Fours, just informational packets like this that can be found on the website at your convenience. And that will be live starting tomorrow. But the registration component won't go live until March 1st. Now, when you go through and register, all of our registration components are online. So you can register from beginning to end, everything online. But once you hit the end, you're going to receive an email from our district that indicates you have to show up to the administration building on Monday through Thursday from 9 o'clock to 3:30, and you have to show us proof of your child's birth certificate. Okay, we're required to show proof of birth certificate with parent ID in hand just to make sure that you are the parent. Unfortunately, that's where we have to be at, but everything else can be done online, but just once you finish the online component, you'll receive an email, and you're going to have to come to the administration building. We're open Monday through, well, they're available for registrations Monday through Thursday from 9 o'clock to 3:30. transferring schools within the district. That's called open enrollment. So if you're slated to go to Cromie, but you want to go to Wilkerson, you would simply fill out an open enrollment form, and the principals both sign off on it, and then you would be free to go to Wilkerson. The only caveat to that is, if you do not attend your home school, transportation will not be provided. So if you intend to go to a different school than your home school, transportation is going to be on your own. The district will not provide transportation for open enrollment students. Now, transfer to schools from another Macomb County school. If, let's say, you live in Centerline, but you want to come to Warren Consolidated Schools, that is called a school of choice application. And that application is open March 1st. So starting March 1st, if you live in a district outside of Warren Consolidated Schools, you can come, but you have to fill out a school of choice application that is open on March 1st. And all of that, those forms can be found on our website. We have a federal regulation that requires us to do a language survey, and it used to be the No Child Left Behind law. It's the same thing, it's just we're required to make sure that we survey what language you speak predominantly at home. And I'll leave you with a little bit of information, and as you struggle and think of all of the different aspects of your little one coming into the world of public education, there's not a better place to be than Warren Consolidated Schools, and I can promise you that. But as you think of whether or not your child is ready, do they know their first and last name? Do they know your first and last name? Do they know their address? Those are some of the things. As I asked my 4-year-old, I said, "Do you know my name?" And she said, "Baba." I said, "No, I'm not Baba." I said, "What's my name?" She said, "Baba." I said, "No." And so that made me do a little thinking, and so I had to kind of teach her my name. It just, certain things that we take for granted, if there's an accident and she's in trouble and she needs to know who to contact, she can't say Baba to her school people. She needs to give a name. So that's one aspect. Make sure they can care for themselves. Can they take care of themselves? Can they zip their own coat? I don't know if you've ever seen a classroom of 22 kindergartners going out for recess in January, but if they all 22 need assistance in zipping their coat, it becomes quite the process for the one staff member or teacher to zip their coat. So the more that we can get students independently zipping their own coats in kindergarten, the better off they're going to be. I would take some time to introduce your son or daughter to the public library. There's a lot of great programs, no matter whether you're in Troy, Sterling Heights, or Warren. Our public libraries are equipped to have great kids sections in their libraries, and they really foster that academics and learning and reading that kids love to do. And there's so many great things that can be done in our public libraries. And I'll finally leave you with this. As parents, we oftentimes want to solve our kids' problems. They come to us with a problem. That's what we do. We're natural at it. We want to fix their problem. And I'm here to tell you it's okay to allow them to struggle through things. Learn the ability and art of problem solving. If they're struggling with peer conflict, if they're struggling with an assignment, if they're struggling with kindergarten's hard. It's 5 days, full days, Monday through Friday. Right around Wednesday, Thursday, you start seeing that attitude around dinner time, and the kid becomes a demon child. It's okay for you to let them struggle through it, and it's okay to let them figure out on their own, because that's going to give them the ability to solve problems on their own, and they'll be better for it. And the power of yet. And what I mean by that is, when they struggle and they may see kids in their peers doing things in class, and they say, "I don't know how to write my name. I don't know how to write my name yet." Or, "I don't know how to solve two-digit addition problems. I don't know how to solve two-digit arithmetic problems yet." Those problem-solving abilities, the ability to persevere through struggles is something that our kids really need, and the more we allow them to do it, the more they're going to want to do it and be better off for it as they progress through their school years. I can tell you that growth mindset for students is very powerful, and I appreciate all you do for your kid and the support. And I think I've talked long enough, and I know that we've got a lot of kiddos in the audience, and judging from my own experience, I know that there's a time expiration on the amount of time that they can maintain their composure. So having said that, on behalf of Warren Consolidated Schools, we are excited to welcome you as families and your children to our school district, and we look for a very successful school year for them. So thank you very much. The administrators and school staff is still in the back if you have questions, but I appreciate your patience. We look forward to working with you in the fall. Thank you very much.